Today on Dr. Phil, she swears her ex is stalking her.
Are you texting her 30 times a day?
No. He claims she's delusional.
You believe his family were watching you from the trees.
Add her mother to the mix.
He's nuttier than a porta potty at a peanut convention.
And let the blame games begin.
The only tracking I can verify is when you've tracked him.
How have I tracked him?
Like in Vegas?
Oh, yeah, I did, yeah.
Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
I try to be an emotional compass and point you in the right direction.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. Hey, guys. How are you? Well, how does that song the kids sing in the playground go again? First comes love, then comes marriage, then comes baby in the baby carriage, right? But unfortunately for my guests, Leslie and Andy, their song goes more like, first came marriage, then came the nasty email exchanges. Leslie to Andy, once again, you're the one making that rule which is hindering me from seeing my son. Andy to Leslie, don't try to fool me with your innocent victim crap. Everything you say is a lie or manipulation. Then came a physical fight, leading to Leslie's arrest. Then came a prison stint, CPS on direct dial, and a wife with delusions that her husband was bugging her phone and her in-laws were, get this, wearing camouflage and spying on her from the trees. Or was it a delusion?
I was married to Andy for 7 years. We recently divorced and we share a 5-year-old son. My ex-husband Andy is the most condescending, controlling person I have ever met in my life. The first time I saw the rage, he accused me of manipulating him into getting pregnant, and he actually raised a hand to me. Different ways that Andy was abusive to me was he put his fists through doors. He dragged me around the car by my hair one night, and he kicked me in my ass, and it was the most humiliating thing. Even at the very end of my pregnancy, he shared with the Bible study group that his wife was as big as a house. He was not sexually attracted to her anymore, and she was annoying as hell. I've never been treated with such utter disrespect and hatred in my entire life by anybody. In 2011, 5 police officers showed up at my house to arrest me for a prescription fraud charge. And Andy had called the detective and tipped them off that I had done it. And I was arrested and spent a year away from my child. My ex-husband has primary custody and I have visitation. I want joint custody. I am the best thing for my child, but I literally hate Andy for what he has done to me.
Well, Leslie also accuses her ex-husband of cyber-stalking her, including tapping her phone and tracking her every move via GPS. Here, take a look.
I believe that my ex-husband is stalking me. He has used spyware on my phones and email accounts and text messages. I believe that he has had a GPS actually hardwired into my car and maybe even a recording device. So the way that he harasses me today is his text messages will come through and there will be like 32 texts that come in all at once. There is things on my phone that nobody can explain, like I'm having a conversation with somebody in my house or in my car, and I will say a term like, oh, God, Andy is so bipolar. And the next thing I know, he's texting me. I am not bipolar. At one time, these mind games and harassing emails and text messages, they started to make me extremely paranoid. I feel at all times like I question whether or not I'm going crazy. I think that his ultimate goal is to break me down. He can't have me. He'll ruin me to a point where nobody else will want me.
Okay, Leslie, let's just get right to this, okay? You think he wants you back.
Yes, sir.
So you think he's doing this to force you into dependency?
On him, yes, sir.
Is he stalking you?
I know that I believe 100% in my heart he is.
Is he emailing you and texting you
Yes.
20, 30 times a day?
Yes, sir, that is true.
What's he
Yes.
say?
Most of the time it's just degrading. Sometimes it's, he goes to, I'm a wonderful person, and it flip-flops back and forth so much. It's either I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread or I'm the worst thing that ever was put on the face of this earth. You never know.
Well, Leslie's ex-husband, Andy, says she's delusional, paranoid, a bad influence on their 5-year-old son, who sent me a plea saying, Dr. Phil, can you get my mommy and daddy back together so they don't fight anymore?
Leslie has been accusing me of stalking her, messing with her phones and computers and spying on her. All this paranoia that went on for years. The mindset and the actions are generated by drug use. I decided maybe it'd be good if we go on vacation. I found this big log cabin. It was secluded. What I had hoped would be coming back together. Yet what happened was her stating that there's people spying on her in the trees, top of the house, people following us in cars. Our relationship got so strained and chaotic. I was just fed up with all the insanity. I love Leslie, and I hate seeing what addiction has done to her. I felt I needed to be responsible for my son and prevent them from being together.
Good to meet you. Are you stalking this woman?
No.
Are you emailing or texting her 15, 20, 30 times a day?
No, I don't know why my texts go out, all divided up.
So you send really long texts?
Yeah, anything that's more than 3 or 4 lines will split up.
Are you in love with her?
No.
You're here because you want custody of your 5-year-old child.
Yeah. I'm here because I want the harassment and the ability to be able to parent my child without the fear of him or his family calling CPS on me or being followed or monitored by him or his family or CPS. And I want joint custody of my child if and only if I can get a job where somebody doesn't call and sabotage it, and I have a place to live where nobody is in control of taking it away from me. And, if I piss my mom off just the right way, she's going to kick me out of the apartment that I live in that I have to have in her name because I can't get an apartment with a felony.
How long you been in that apartment?
Since July 3rd.
Seems plenty of time to find a job. I don't have the luxury to sit on my butt with the responsibility of taking care of a child. I don't have a spouse to hang out and unemployed and sit and talk to the cleaning lady that I pay for.
I'm not sitting around my apartment talking to a cleaning lady
You
that
were
you're
at the
paying
house
for.
for 6 years. You want to pay the rent, you don't want somebody, you don't want somebody kicking you out or controlling you, but you won't do nothing about it.
Maybe that's why your text messages break up into... It says we're changing sentiments here. He's got to be a different guy. Cause...
Somebody's bugging my phone. It's stalking me.
Well, coming up, Miss Senior Texas 2013 sounds off. We're talking about her mother. Her name is Myrna. She says she knew Andy was bad news from day one. But she doesn't necessarily get along all that much better with her daughter. But we'll hear from her when we come back.
The last time I was at Leslie's home, her phone just started pinging and pinging and pinging and pinging, and I said, what is that? And she said, oh, it's text from Andy. And I said, well, how many are there? And she said, 26. That's just ridiculous.
And later...
If I thought for a second I could get by lying to you, I'm not stupid. I knew that y'all would know the truth about all of this.
Leslie and Andy are the divorced parents of a 5-year-old son and currently battling over a number of issues. Leslie would hope to get to a point where she could have joint custody, but says, I'm not really ready for that yet. She says she needs to get a job and a stable home, but she can't do that if the interference doesn't stop. Leslie claims that Andy has too much control over their child and her involvement in the boy's life. Leslie also alleges that her ex-husband is stalking her by tapping her phone and tracking her every move via GPS, which Andy says is absolutely not true. We're going to add another person to the mix, Leslie's mother. Myrna also says Andy is a control freak who uses her grandson to get what he wants from both Leslie and her.
My daughter Leslie just divorced a narcissistic abuser. He will not leave her alone. Andy, in the beginning, did not want children, and I advised her not to marry him. Things got worse after they got married because Andy is incredibly controlling. Andy does harass Leslie, but I think he tortures her mentally and emotionally. The last time I was at Leslie's home, her phone just started pinging and pinging and pinging and pinging, and I said, what is that? And she said, oh, it's text from Andy. And I said, well, how many are there? And she said, 26. That's just ridiculous. I'm never surprised by the things Andy does to Leslie. I do sometimes get surprised at the levels that he will stoop to. One minute Andy loves her, and the next day he's trying to throw her in jail by telling lies on her. When he gets mad at others, he threatens, he makes up lies. He never says it to your face. He won't talk to you face to face at all. He texts or emails like a 12-year-old girl. He has definitely threatened me that if I don't do what he likes, that he will withdraw my grandson from me. He's done that once, and it was very painful. He has turned on me with his texting and his threats. He constantly reminds me that grandparents have no rights in Texas. If you don't do it Andy's way, you won't do it at all. I've never had a conversation with Andy face to face because he's a coward, and he will only bully women over text. If I could see him face to face and give him a piece of my mind, I'd say, you're nuttier than a porta potty at a peanut convention.
Well, you think he's stalking her?
I don't know, Dr. Phil. I know some horrible things he has done to her.
Like what?
Like, she got out of the hospital from having her baby on Thanksgiving Day. She didn't have any clothes. He didn't call her. He didn't tell her he was going to not come and get her. He left her standing there, and she had to call her hairdresser to bring her some clothes and go home because he had gone to Thanksgiving dinner at his sister's house.
What was the problem when she delivered the baby and she admitted she'd been on methadone while pregnant? Mm-hmm. And my son spent the first 30 days of his life in NICU being detoxed off of methadone with morphine.
And you thought that was still okay to do that to your wife?
You think she was okay doing that to my son?
No other man's going to do that to his wife who's just had their baby.
No wife is going to do what, what do you think about a woman that's using
I'm not going to validate what you've done. What you did was wrong.
Child.
It was wrong, and that's the way you do. You withhold and from the beginning you admitted. You found out it bothered her to be excluded, and you withhold your emotions from her. You've always done that. No. One day you love her dearly, the next day you don't even want to talk to her. So that was not right. That was not right. Sorry.
Well, you're welcome to believe that.
And I do.
Well, do you feel that you feel he had a legitimate complaint if he finds out that his child is born addicted to drugs?
I can understand his being concerned. I mean, he could have called me. I need you to go get Leslie. I'm upset with her, and I would rather not go get her. Don't just leave her.
Wonder why she called her hairdresser instead of you.
Well, she and I have been off and on for more than 20 years.
Your whole life?
No, not our whole life.
Well,
not our whole life.
The 9
you weren't
years
there
I've been in y'all's life and the stories I've been told by Leslie before that, it started a long time ago.
Guys, this is about our child.
I agree.
This is not about who's done what
stalking.
worse, because I have done some terrible things.
You made it about stalking, Leslie. I begged you to give me a polygraph. You picked the place, the time, the person, and the questions. I'll show up and pay for it.
We've done that before.
We've done that before, and you accused me and the guy you picked of being in cahoots.
And that's my fault, how?
I didn't say it was your fault. That's the reality.
I asked the question. I'm trying to find out what family situation this child's embedded in. You need to make up your mind about why you're here. You wrote me. I didn't stop your car on the street. I want to know whether or not this is some wild-eyed guy that's stalking you, trying to drive you crazy. I want to know if you're stable or you're not stable. I want to know what's going on. I kind of want to know what the hell we're doing here.
Yes, sir.
You told us you were here because you wanted custody. I said, so you're here because you want custody? Oh, not really. I just want him to quit harassing me and stalking me. So I start talking about that. And you say, no, wait a minute. I asked you if it was about custody. You said, no, it's about him harassing and stalking. So we start talking about that. And you say, no, you need to make up your mind about why you're here. You wrote me. I didn't stop your car on the street.
Okay. It was the cut downs between the two of them that I felt like I needed to say that. That's
Well, Dr. Phil asked me what he had done, and I was telling him.
okay. I'm sorry.
Y'all can tell your lies.
That is
You're
not a
welcome.
lie. You did that.
Are you tracking her?
No, but I bought 18 iPhones in 2 years before she got booted out. I've had to replace hard drives on 7 computers. She killed your computer. And said,
Why are you doing all that?
because she kills them all. And I got to work for a living.
Why does she kill them all?
Because she's tripping out on,
She thinks they're bugged,
yeah.
and so she smashes them or something? Is that what you're saying?
She's smashed my iPhones before. She's cut screens off my patio because they were trick solar screens. Yeah. I mean, she's putting passwords on the hard drive. A whole lot of IT people don't know how to do that. And, you know, she's messed up when she's doing it, and then she don't remember what she put on there. But, you know, all of that's costing money. All that's creating tension. You know, I've been ugly. I've been accused of I'm the one making her use. But if I had that kind of power, I would make her stop.
Well,
I've
I'm
never
asking
stalked her, never followed her.
I'm asking you if you're tracking her around because, I mean, could be, I suppose, legitimate reasons for doing that. If you're worried about her well-being, if you're afraid she's getting into drugs, if you're afraid she's going to do something with your son. I mean, if you're paying attention to where she's going or what she's doing, I'm just asking, are you paying attention to her? Are you following her life and seeing what's going on?
Yeah, and not physically going out and following her, nor have I ever asked anybody to, paid anybody to. But I want to know where she's at, where her head's at before my son's with her. Mm-hmm. You know, because we went with, after the divorce, I worked with her. I was giving you more time with our child than I needed to or was told to.
Do you want more time with your son?
Yes.
But you did a total 180 flip. You weren't going to pick him up from school anymore. You were going to stick to the schedule. And that happened like that on a dime, which to me, with your speaking and all that, said you were using again.
We have explained that multiple times. Every time she had him, you harassed her. Are you going to take him Thursday night? And she'd say, no, 2 hours on Thursday night. Let me finish.
She wouldn't
Let me
respond.
finish.
Why are you two not speaking right now? You've not been speaking since you got here.
Would you like to explain it?
Go ahead.
No, I'm asking you.
Okay, when we got here Sunday night,
Can I get the short version?
yes, Leslie is on drugs, and she gets very volatile when she's on drugs.
And I'm going on national TV admitting to all of this. There's no other reason why anybody on the face of this earth would be sitting in this chair right now.
And later, paying it forward. How an 8-year-old nearly brought a soldier to tears.
It's incredible being recognized in such a manner. I look at it every day.
My mother is a narcissistic abuser. She was so mean and hateful growing up. My mother looked at me one time and told me that she hated me, and she repeated it 3 times. She looked me right in the eyes when she said it. That hurts.
When we talked to you in our initial conversation with you, you said that you had been clean since '09. Then when we fill out our initial intake form with you, you actually said, well, I did meth in October of 13. Then at another point in the interview, you said he reported to CPS that you were doing meth in October of 14, and you said, and that was true. Okay, then we did a drug screen on you when you got here, and you tested positive for meth and Vicodin.
Yes, sir.
So that's 09, 13, 14, and 15. You said you were clean since 09, but then in October 13, October 14, and October 15, positive, positive, positive for drugs. Those are the only 3 tests that I have access to. Every time you've been tested in the last 3 years, you're testing positive for meth, which suggests to me
I have a problem.
that every time you've been tested, that's 100% of the time, you're still doing meth.
And Dr. Phil, I don't know about the other the ones you're talking about. Me saying that I haven't used since 09, because even these 2 sitting right here know that that's not true. I've definitely been using since 09, or CPS would have never been involved in our life. I know that over the phone, there are times that I've been scared to tell anybody the exact truth, because I'm afraid that he's monitoring it and CPS is going to show up at my doorstep. But I have never been more utterly honest than I have with your staff. I said, but if you're asking if I'm clean, I would rather wait till I get there to answer the question. I don't know why in my head I was thinking that it's easier for me to answer the question if I'm about to go on national TV and admit to everybody that I'm using. And I have been brutally honest about what I have used and when I have used it. And I'm going on national TV admitting to all of this because I want help for me and I want help for my son, and there is no other reason why anybody on the face of this earth would be sitting in this chair right now admitting on TV that they are a drug addict. If I thought for a second I could come on this show and get by lying to you, I mean, I'm not stupid. I knew that y'all would know the truth about all of this, and there's no other reason why I would be sitting here today if I did not want help.
You say you want help, but then you got here and at 7 o'clock you say, I'm too tired to do the interview.
I was scared.
And so your mother says, you better do this interview, you little bitch, or I'm going to kick you out of the apartment and report you to CPS.
I did say it.
I know.
It's taken such a huge amount of strength and courage for me to come on national TV and admit to the thing that I know, the one thing that I know will take my child away from me.
You say that you're doing the one thing that would get your child taken away from you. You don't have custody of the child now.
Well, I'm in
And the truth is, you may be doing the one thing that would ever give you an opportunity to have access to your child, is to stop this ridiculous self-destructive behavior and get yourself straightened out. And, you know, you talk about him tracking you, but the only tracking that I can verify at all is when you've tracked him.
How have I tracked him?
Like in Vegas?
Oh, yeah, I did, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was before the cyber stalking started.
You say he's accusing you of being paranoid and all of this stuff about his family being in the trees watching you, but you do admit that you at one point believed that his family were wearing camouflage in the trees, watching you from the trees.
I did.
And you're like crawling around.
No, I didn't crawl around.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
Up this embankment of
It wasn't crawling, Andy. It was walking.
No.
No, you did everything in your power to make my paranoia worse, and you know it.
Okay, that's why I took you on a vacation.
No,
to
you
get
took
away.
me on a vacation to absolutely terrorize me.
Yeah,
the
'cause that
entire
sounds
vacation.
really good to me.
It is. You're just that sick.
The question is, what is the best for their 5-year-old son in the middle of these warring parents? What role can Leslie's mother, Myrna, play in making things better or worse? And what can Leslie do if she is ever going to turn this situation around? I'll be right back. day's going to come where he's going to get old enough to say, my mother had a choice, and she decided to get high.
I don't want that. I don't want that.
Leslie and Andy were married for 7 years, but during those years, there were fights that sometimes became physical. There were arrests, there was drug use, accusations of stalking, and in all of that, there's a 5-year-old little boy that, just wants peace. Andy, I don't know what your real thoughts or motivations are, but I'll tell you one thing for absolute sure, and you can go home and you can write this down and you can put the date on it, and you can reference it in 5 years and in 10 years, and remember that I told you this. You can win today in terms of having undivided loyalty and allegiance for your son. And it can turn out to be the biggest loss of your life. Because I will promise you, the day will come that that little boy will become a young man, and he will say, why did I not have my mother in my life? And why, as my father, did you not do what was necessary for her to be in my life? What you want is for him to grow up one day and say, they got a divorce and there were some real rough patches, but my father did what was necessary to make sure that I had a relationship with my mother, and that was critical in my upbringing, and I will forever be grateful to him for being a big enough man to do that for me. And Leslie, look, I don't know how or why you have gotten into this situation. I know a fair amount of it. You have some ownership in that, but you're the one that has made the choice to do the drugs. You're the one that makes that choice again every day. And they're going to kill you. They're going to kill your family. They're going to rob your son of his mother. And the day's going to come where he's going to get old enough to say, my mother had a choice. She either had a choice to get high or put me in her lap and read me a story, and she decided to get high.
I don't want that. I don't want that.
If he had to tell a story right now, that's the story that he would have to tell, because that's the truth right now. You have not done what is necessary to get yourself in a position to be a responsible influence, a responsible presence in that young man's life. And now he may be the biggest jerk to come down the road in 100 years. I don't know. I don't know him. He may not. She may be a nightmare of a mother. Don't know. But I know this. You have a choice to make. And you can say, I showed up at court and I took that drug test knowing I would fail it and I'll never give up on my son. That's a great speech. That's a great speech. Those are impassioned words. But you still went home and got high, didn't you?
Yes, sir. I did.
I'm your worst nightmare. Because I don't buy manipulations.
I don't think you do.
So you got to make a decision. You got to make a decision that says, at some point, I'm going to stop talking, I'm going to stop complaining, I'm going to stop blaming, and I'm going to take responsibility for who I am as a woman and a mother, and I'm going to put myself in a position to be in my son's life. Now, I'm willing to help you do that. I am willing to help you do that, but you need to understand something about me. When I get involved in this, if you're going through the motions and trying to put a face on this, I'm your worst nightmare. Because I don't buy manipulations.
I think you do.
If I get involved in this, I never surrender to the disease.
Okay.
I never surrender to the disease. I'm not going to put you in some 28-day wonder program somewhere that you go down there and tell everybody what you want to hear. You know what? Everybody's a star in rehab. It's what you do when you get out. And if you come out and have to scrub toilets, scrub floors, wait tables, or whatever you have to do, and live in a shoebox, you do what you have to do to get yourself solid and become an influence in that child's life. And if he's got a brain in his head, and I believe he does, he's going to support that. Now, you may not ever like each other, and that's okay, but you can learn to co-parent. But you cannot co-parent if you are a drug addict.
Absolutely.
And there's Origins Behavioral Health Care, which, in my opinion, is the nation's leading dual diagnosis treatment center. And when I say dual diagnosis,
Yes, sir.
you got a lot going on with you.
I know what it is.
It's not just drugs. A lot of what you're doing is self-medicating anxiety and depression that you've been carrying for a long time, in my opinion. I haven't diagnosed you, but I'm a pretty quick study. And I think there's a lot going on there. And this is located on South Padre Island and in West Palm Beach, Florida, and Vero Beach, Florida. And we'll make a decision on where's the best place for you to go. But they offer very sophisticated gender-specific treatment programs. They're very customized. They specialize in what you need. And they'll deal with the psychological disorders and the addiction. I don't know how long you'll be there. Because they work the criteria. You will be there until.
Yes, sir.
I guarantee you it won't be 30 days.
Okay.
But you will come back with your head on straight.
I want it.
And I assume you support this.
Absolutely.
I assume you support this. And if not, then they have to be out of your life.
Yes, sir.
You can have a relationship with this son, never see him again. It's called intermediaries. But it begins with you. You've got to clean your own house.
Yes, sir.
And what he does or doesn't do doesn't matter. This is about you getting straight first. Then you come from a position of strength as a mother, strength as a woman. We got a clear understanding?
Yes, sir.
And that means you go down there and you lean into this program. When you leave, there is no coming back. I'm going to give you one shot. You better grab on and hang on.
I will.
Fair enough? Okay. All right, deal? Okay. All right, coming up, you won't believe what an 8-year-old boy did when he found some unexpected cash. We're going to find out when we come back. On October 6th, Lauren, a college student, was running through a park in New York City. She had no idea she dropped her school ID, that is, until her professor called her and said, you know what? You're famous.
College student is the talk of Twitter thanks to Tom Hanks.
He tweeted a picture of her Fordham ID card after he found it, and since then everybody's been looking for Lauren.
She's Fordham University senior Lauren.
I don't have a Twitter, but one of my professors emailed me with a link to Twitter and said, you're famous.
Lauren says she was out running in Central Park yesterday when she must have dropped it. So, about Tom Hanks.
I have not spoken to Tom Hanks personally. If he has my ID and would like to give it back, I will surely meet him to do that.
This is really a full circle moment for Tom Hanks. Back in March, he lost his credit card and then tweeted, a guy named Tony found my credit card on the street in New York City and returned it. Tony, you make the city even greater. Thanks, Hanks.
get her ID back from Tom Hanks, and her roommate recorded the exact moment she opened a very nice surprise. Take a look.
Lauren, hold on to this. Tom Hanks.
Oh my God. Look at the letterhead.
Here it is.
What do you say to him?
Thank you so much. I will definitely hold on to it.
All right, Lauren joins us now via Polycom. Lauren, how you doing?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
Well, I'm okay. We just looked at the footage when you opened that note. Nobody had ever seen that before. That had to be a surprise.
That was definitely a shock, a really pleasant surprise. It's nice that somebody's there looking out and giving stuff back.
Okay, so are you going to run through Central Park now, dropping stuff everywhere you go?
I think myself and the rest of Fordham University plans on just throwing their IDs all over the place.
Well, go study. You're in school.
I will. Thank you.
All right, Lauren, thanks so much. Now, this pay it forward kind of goes on, because when an 8-year-old boy found a $20 bill, he decided, you know what, I'm going to buy me something. Then he thought, wait a minute. He wanted to do something in honor of his hero.
Here at the Ohio Air National Guard Base near Toledo,
This is the 180th Fighter Wing.
Lieutenant Colonel Frank Daly still can't believe the honor recently bestowed upon him.
It's incredible being recognized in such a manner.
It happened at a Cracker Barrel, of all places. As the security camera shows, Lieutenant Colonel Daly entered the restaurant on February 7th for an early lunch. At about the same time, 8-year-old Miles Eckert came in with his family. Miles, in the green hoodie, was very excited. He just found a $20 bill in the parking lot.
Just sitting there?
Yeah.
Did you start thinking of what you could spend it on?
I kind of wanted to get a video game, but then I decided not to.
He changed his mind when he saw that guy in uniform.
Because he was a soldier, and soldiers remind me of my dad.
And so, with his dad in mind, Miles wrapped the 20 in a note that read, "Dear soldier, my dad was a soldier. He's in heaven now. I found this $20 in the parking lot when we got here. We like to pay it forward in my family. It's your lucky day. Thank you for your service. Signed, Miles Eckert, a Gold Star kid."
You've read it more than once?
I look at it every day.
Well, Miles, now 10, and his mother Tiffany are joining us via Polycom.
Hi, Dr. Phil. How are you?
I'm well. How are you? How you doing, Miles?
Good.
That's a good-looking bow tie you got on there.
Say thank you. Thank you.
Well, you certainly wear it well. So we were just watching the story about you finding that $20 bill and passing it on. I thought that was really a kind and big boy thing to do. What made you decide to do that?
Because it was the right thing, and that's how my mom taught me. Aww.
You and your family met with President and Laura Bush, right?
Yeah. It was fun, but I was also nervous because it was a president, and I've never met a president before.
Miles is going to be presented the Freedom Award from the Carolinas Freedom Foundation, and Miles will be the first child to ever receive that award. What do you all think of that? And by the way, I want everybody to know that Miles' act went viral, and he has raised $1.8 million for soldiers. How about that? Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.